So the fact that simple is hard is clearly not news to anyone, and I'm pretty sure it's not news to you. Otherwise, you would not look or see this kind of videos. And the fact that simple is hard, the proof that we have to show to ourselves that simple is hard is that most of our life we make easy choices. We take decisions which make us feel comfortable, and decisions which don't require us to do a lot of effort, right? If you want, we are lazy by design in a way, and we have a whole economy to prove it. A lot of shortcuts, a lot of pills, a lot of, fast ways to achieve whatever you want in life, as if this is the end game that you should seek. I'll make the case that it's not. And hard is the mode in which you, at least sometimes, play life. If you want an easy life, you have sometimes to make hard choices. And that, in theory, is simple, right? We established that simple is hard. So making hard choices, it's not complex in its essence. It doesn't require a lot of computational, horsepower to make hard choices. It just requires commitment to a goal that's meaningful to you. It requires courage to confront others when whatever you're doing doesn't really make sense for them. And it requires to be true to yourself, to be in alignment with your values, to make sure that whatever you are doing makes sense for you. And that's key. You see, like everyone in this world, I imagine, of course, I'm not special. So when I started living my life into my, late childhood, and then, in high school as a teenager, and then in university, I thought that making choices is somewhat not a good skill or an important skill to have. That somehow choices are made for us, right? That we have to go through life on this kind of default path where people and circumstances and friends and family, they point us towards it as if this is, as if they know better than us. And in the past, I, like everyone else, I ran the default program, right? I thought that accumulating more is better. More knowledge, more assets, more skills, anything. More is safe. The more things you have, the more resources you have, the better you are. More is also valuable, right? The more things you can gather, the more things you can create, the better. The problem with that approach is that at some point, you become your own bottleneck. That's a working strategy, and that's an easy way to go through life. Because gathering stuff, making more stuff, building more, although it sounds valuable intrinsically, it's the default way of going through life. Accumulating stuff. Whatever, doesn't matter. More is better, right? The problem with that, of course, is that at some point we will be hit with confronting the laws of physics, which says that that entropy is the default, right? Accumulating stuff is the default. And managing that default, managing that complexity that we accumulated and we've built throughout our lives in an older age, as we grow up, as we grow older, and we have more and more and more to deal with, it becomes really burdening. The stuff that you have and you accumulate in your life will not give you any more returns. The more you age, the more marginal those returns are on the actual stuff that you accumulate in life. So as you age, you will realize by yourself or somehow forced by life to be more truthful to yourself. And you will realize that more is not necessarily better. Having more stuff in general is not necessarily a good thing, because it's just polluting your mind for most of the time. The more things you have, the more things you have to be concerned with. And those things will ultimately drain you of energy, which, spoiler alert, as you grow older, it diminishes. The energy that you have today will not be as high as the energy you will have in 5 years. What will be higher, likely, is the amount of stuff that you will accumulate in your life. So complexity is the default. There is, at some point in life, a need for a recalibration. And the fact that I'm having ultimately this talk to myself at the end of the year is to remember that this calibration is more important than anything as I grow older, as you grow older. Recalibration meaning what? Meaning a truthful assessment regarding what you are spending energy on. What are you actually doing with your life? And as we have established in some videos already, how you live your day-to-day, how you live on ordinary days, how you live your life ultimately. Because that ordinary day is the default for you. And that ordinary day makes up most of your life, because you just execute the same kind of routines in an ordinary day in each day, right? And those lots of similar days, they just make up your life. So it's a good proxy to look at a normal day in your life and start the assessment there. So instead of fighting entropy, which ultimately leads to some sort of stagnation, right? Because we cannot deal with more stuff. We cannot not clean up stuff in our life. What we can do instead is a good strategy to just look at what things we have and think if we still need them or not. I would say this is the approach that everyone takes, because it's the safest and the least psychologically taxing, because you rely on your own awareness and decision making to decide what you still need or you don't need. And that can, let's start with material things and habits, things that just take up your life. It's not the best strategy to look at what you have and then take things out, because you have this psychological attachment to them. You have this emotional bond to a lot of things, which don't give you much in return. They are just artifacts, right? This emotional attachment is just an artifact of you having spent enough time in the proximity of that thing. But that thing is not really useful or valuable to you anymore. It's just, it's just stuff. You don't need it anymore. And that can be, again, material possession, clothes, shoes, whatever. But it can also be habits. It can also be skills, things that you know and you are doing recurrently, but don't give you any kind of return. And that can also translate to your professional domain, right? Things that you cling to, that you think you have expertise in, and that you think is building your future, but ultimately is just keeping you stuck. It keeps you in the past, in a past where you had familiarity, where you had appreciation maybe from the outside world, but going forward it's not useful anymore. So how can you do it instead? How can you find a better strategy instead of just going through every single inventory item and see if it's useful or not? Well, I think a much better way, and a needed way, is to just start from nothing. Start from zero. You are just a very ordinary, simple, just a person, right? A human being. And like any human being, you have needs. Those needs are manufactured as you go along through life. You think you need to have, I don't know, heated seats in your car, for example, or whatever. But you didn't have the need of heated seats before you had heated seats, right? You didn't even know that heated seats is really that much of that much of an important thing in your life. And there are also, of course, like core human needs, like emotional attachment to other humans, like health, creativity, bonding, right, with other people, like living happily in a day-to-day basis, have the feeling that you matter, work on things that give you pleasure and joy. These are core needs that we all have, and these needs, we look for them endlessly until we find them, and that's a key message here. If we don't work towards those core needs directly, and we don't assume the effort to do whatever we have to do in order to feed those core needs, which sometimes might be hard, right? Working on a difficult relationship is hard because it requires your involvement, it requires communication. Keeping yourself healthy in this world, throwing at you infinite amount of food, is hard. But I would argue that it should be one of your core needs to stay healthy in this world. Working or developing skills which are required for the future and that you don't have today is hard, right? But it's also arguably a core need to have, because you need to feel the sense of contribution as you grow older. So you cannot escape that. You cannot escape hard things. And the key message here is that, of course, if you don't assume and own the hard things that you have to do in order to address those core needs, you will by default continue to chase the easy things to get those superficial needs that you convince yourself that will be a good enough replacement for your core needs, and they won't. Been there, done that. They won't. So how I see things today, I carve out my day. An ordinary day has 24 hours, but that ordinary day is as special as any other day, because I have no guarantee that I will have a tomorrow. I've seen that already in my close family situation. My mother left us about 2 years ago, and when she died, she didn't have another day. She wished she could have done anything to have another day, but she didn't. And I knew for sure that she won't, right? When the time came, I knew that's it. But because we are healthy and we are in a good enough shape, we develop this kind of assumed arrogance that we will live years and decades, and we can waste a few years doing things that we don't care about, because why not? And I challenge you to think that this is, first of all, an arrogant thing to believe. Without being fatalistic, you can be truthful to yourself and realize that you don't really have the guarantee of a tomorrow. Not even, of course, the guarantee of a whole today, but today at least can be your first priority. You can look at today and split it in blocks of time which force you, in a way, if you want, to address your core needs. Isn't that intuitive in a way? Shouldn't that be obvious that we should do it like that? Shouldn't it be clear that if we have 24 hours, those 24 hours, which ultimately, let's say, remain 16, because ideally we should sleep 7 to 8 hours a night. So let's say 16. In those 16 waking hours a day, we have to be fulfilled. We have to live a happy life, a happy existence. And the happy life and the happy existence, of course, they are created day by day. Starting with today, which is just a day, just an ordinary day. It's not even Christmas. It's not even New Year's Eve. It's somehow in the middle between Christmas and New Year's Eve, between parties, between, it's just a day. It's a buffer day. We're getting prepared for the new year. It's not a special day, right? But it's the only day we have at the same time. And why we should take it for granted? Why we shouldn't honor this day as being this essential stepping stone towards, yes, maybe better days in that way, like days where we will celebrate more and so on. But what matters is that today is a stepping stone towards that hypothetical future we don't know exists. We don't know it's there. We hope that the future awaits us, but we cannot know for sure. So I challenge you to look at today in blocks of time that address your core needs, that give time to your relationships, and the block of relationships as an asset, if you want, starts with your own relationship with yourself. What are you doing for yourself today? How are you investing another block of time in skills that serve your future self, not your past self? Skills that help your future self thrive, not give you the peace of mind that you know stuff and just do more of the thing that you know just because you happen to know it and it feels good in the moment. Make the hard choice. Don't go with the easy one. Make the hard choice, which again is simple. It's simple to know that what you've built up to this point, it's not going to take you to wherever you want to go. If you really want to go somewhere bigger than where you are, if you feel that you're stagnating, if you're not happy with yourself, if your health is not good, if your relationships are not where you want them to be, if you're not happy with what you're doing professionally, doing more of the things you've done up to this point, which highly likely was the easy kind of doing, will clearly not take you there, right? Just start with this inventory. Just be truthful to yourself. Realize that doing the same things all over again will not make anything better, because it cannot. If you don't start with this truth assessment, with this honest review of your life and what you're doing with it, and how you are making easy choices by default, you will not be able to make hard choices. Because again, hard choices are not hard because they are hard to contemplate on, to imagine, to create, right? Hard choices are hard because they are uncomfortable. They are simple. Everyone knows that in order to be healthy, you have to eat less bad food and move a bit more. Everyone knows that good relationships are built with a lot of communication and love and care. Everyone knows that. It's simple, it's common sense. Yet very few people do it. Why? Because it's hard. If you want an easy life, commit to doing hard choices. Make hard choices and do them. And everything will become lighter and easier and nicer, paradoxically or not. Enjoy.